Welcome to Chik Chat, the podcast where the girl with many titles talks about life, the good and the bad, and everything around it. We're going to sit, chat, share life stories and experiences, from business to relationship. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Chik Chat Podcast. This week we are talking about content creation and how that can turn into a full-time career and potentially working for yourself or working for others. And before we get straight in, I am just going to go over what we normally do. So what we normally do for anyone that is new here is we start with your challenge of the week or your tip of the week. In the middle, we ask how you are really doing and have a bit of a check-in, and then we end with a win of the week. So my challenge of the week at the moment is probably just catching up. I've been travelling quite a lot, working away from home, and just getting back into the routine of working from home is completely different to when I'm travelling. When I'm travelling, I like to be really efficient, and whilst I'm travelling and waiting to transit, I do quite a lot of work, and then being back home, I want to rest. So yeah, that's not been easy. So straight in, content creation. So I decided that I wanted to do this topic because I was asked to go to Huddersfield Uni to give a talk to one of the classes. I think they're studying like media, about how content creation can turn into a career and how careers these days aren't the same. And it's really funny for me because in terms of what I do, I own a marketing agency because I became an accidental influencer. So I started as a content creator for the businesses and the business I had. Started as a content creator, became an accidental influencer, and now I own a marketing agency. But everything that I do is because of content creation. And when I was preparing my presentation for this class, it made me realise just how many doors content creation does open. And if you're interested in knowing kind of my past and how I got into where I am now, probably the first podcast and even some of the other podcasts, when we talk about careers and so on, talk quite a lot in depth about what I have done and how I've got to where I am, in terms of like running the foodie businesses, going into content creation, being made redundant and so on. So I'm not going to go over some of those bits, but I think it's really good to highlight that for me in terms of my career, I followed my parents' advice. I went to uni, did my undergrad, went to uni again, did a postgrad in international business. I have done everything right in terms of the way that you're supposed to do it. I then went into a career in marketing, and I was first made redundant a few years ago. I can't remember what year it was now, but it must have been about like 2017, 18-ish. Probably 2018. And yeah, I wasn't expecting to be made redundant because like I've always loved marketing, but I think it's such an undervalued part of a lot of workforces. Because ultimately, I found that people like to put marketing and sales together, and they do work together, but they're such separate entities that, yeah, I just felt like my first redundancy was because there wasn't an understanding of why marketing was important, and then my second redundancy was because of the pandemic. And yeah, again, not that marketing wasn't seen as it wasn't important, but I followed the steps you're supposed to, thought that I was in secure jobs. My first role was in a smaller business, so I was like, okay, that makes sense. Let me try and go for a larger company, so I've got a bit more security. Same thing happened again. And as I was giving this talk, it made me realise just how much the internet opens doors and content creation opens doors, because I've built a skill set where I am a photographer, I am a videographer, I am a marketing strategist. I cover so many areas of marketing that it's allowed me to work with small brands, global brands. It's allowed me to work anywhere I want to work in the world. We're in 2023 now, so 2021-ish, I worked from multiple countries. It was absolutely amazing. Within the space of 6 months, as soon as they opened the borders and said you can work from anywhere in the world, I was like, yes, going to do this. Going around France, working from my phone, Abu Dhabi and Morocco, different cities, working from my phone and laptop. Everything I needed to do, as long as I had internet, I was fine. And there were issues with that as well sometimes, but yeah, it was great. Whereas the last year, my nomad life has basically been me going back and forth to England, mostly to spend time with my brother and my niece. excuse me. But within that, I also realised that content creation has allowed me to, I've been a model for a few brands now and been paid to model. I have been on TV because I was found because of my content creation. I am looking at doing some work right now that is through the agency, but again, that's because the work that I do as a content creator and what we do as an agency, there's a difference, and you can see that when you turn around to a client and you say, this is the experience that we have, not only are we telling you what to do, we do it ourselves. That's what helps us sell. That's what helps me sell. That's how we gain new clients. And word of mouth obviously is an amazing tool as well. But the word of mouth as well comes from the fact that I practice what I preach. Me and the team practice what we preach. We are all in our own different ways. We're all VAs. We all work from anywhere in the world. Like, I'm building something that I find so interesting. But when I was talking to these students, it was just very clear that following my passion and doing it in a way that worked for me is what has ultimately led to the success that we have. So, for example, I always say try to be consistent and do 2-3 posts a week. I try not to niche these days because I've tried to niche, but I just can't talk about the one topic. I just can't focus on one topic. And when it came to talking about the different careers that these people could have, it was anything from journalism to working on TV, whether you're in front of the camera or at the back of the camera. These days, there are content creation roles that come up, and you could be someone that's in a job that is asked just to create TikToks. And how are you going to sell yourself as a person? I think we now have, I know we still use CVs, but where we now have CVs as it being paper-based and obviously on like laptops, online, our portfolios are also our CVs, and that's something that makes us stand out. And if someone can see that you are good on TikTok and you create captivating videos for yourself, you seem to be on top of the game and you know what you're talking about. When it comes to them looking to hire someone and you're in that interviewing process and they ask you about what you're doing and why, it's so much easier to sell yourself, because if you can show that you've done all this stuff when it was free and you weren't getting paid for doing it, then of course you're going to do it to the best of your abilities when you do start to work for someone. But it's also just highlighted to me how important it is to not dwell on the fact that you need to know exactly what your career is going to be, because I'm going to be 30 and I'm only just figuring out what I like and what I don't like. And I think it's crazy on my end that for so long I put so much pressure on having it figured out, when actually when I look back, whether it's the businesses I put to one side and we'll go back to one day, or what I'm doing at the moment, there is so much choice and scope that content creation brings, because you practice different skill sets. You are learning something. Half the time you're teaching yourself. I know people do pay for courses and so on. And there are people that, for example, would come to me and ask for me to train them on how to use TikTok, Instagram, how to create content for those platforms. But when you go off and you do it yourself and you build something that's authentically you, personal branding is something that I'm very strong in. This podcast is me showing who I am as a person. That is personal branding. It helps me also win new clients. So I think there are elements to content creation that, especially like my parents' generation, don't completely understand. And before I move on to the next part, I'm going to stop in the middle and just go, how am I really doing? So mental health wise, I would say that I'm in a really good place. Don't get me wrong, like it's still, not every day is easy. There are days that are difficult to get out of bed, but like I said, because I'm focusing on the things that I love doing the most, and I'm asking myself why I'm doing what I'm doing, it makes it easier to find reasons to get up out of bed. It makes it easier to cope. There's a lot of responsibility that I have that sometimes it becomes too much, but at the same time, I'm grateful for the position that I'm in. So yeah, I practice a lot of gratitude at the moment. I think that's really helping me in my mindset and in just staying positive, because I do feel like I'm in a really good place and I do feel really happy, and I'm accepting that mental health is, and what I live with day to day is what it is, but that doesn't mean that it's the be all and end all. It doesn't mean that I have to completely shut down. It does mean that I need to rest some days. Like yesterday, I slept for ages and I just had a day of doing nothing, and it was great. It was needed. So yeah, I'm doing okay. Things could always be better, but things could be so much worse. So anyway, carrying on. I was talking about our parents' generation. So I remember there was a time when my dad told me that I needed to be careful about the stuff that I put online and like LinkedIn. And that's completely coming from a place of love. And he looks at it from, he's a manager. And to him, if he was looking at someone as especially I think people forget that as Black people, you are judged so much on what you put out there and the person that you present yourself before. Actually, sometimes it's even before people get to know you. People have this prejudgment. So my dad's worry was, with the things that you're saying, you're being bluntly honest about who you are and what you stand for, your mental health and so on. But there will be people out there that decide because of that they don't want to work with you. And at that time I was like, okay, maybe he's got a point, maybe I shouldn't be putting certain things out. And I do have to be careful about what I put out and what I say. But it's made me realise that as a personal brand, as a business and everything that I'm building, I am starting to work more and more with people that share my values and know exactly what they're signing up for and who they're signing up to work with, because they know exactly who I am. That makes it so much easier on my mental health. It makes it easier when it comes to working with people and having that understanding of, okay, you've seen the type of stuff that I put out, so don't be surprised when that's a part of the conversation that we have, because I think even when it comes to the personal brands that I build with my clients, as well as teaching them how to create the best type of content and write the best copy, and obviously whenever I step in, if I'm managing their socials, the one thing that always becomes very blatant is people are very scared to show their authentic self because they're scared of being judged. But I always come back to them and say, that's fine. You put out what you want on the internet. I don't put out every single point of my life, every single second of the days that I'm having, but I make it very clear who I am, what I stand for. And that's what I try to tell clients, that unless a client is saying something to you that is negative because of something you've put out, if it's friends and family, you shouldn't really care, because ultimately they don't pay your bills, they don't help pay your bills. And I think friends and family can be judgmental in a way that, because they know you and they know what you stand for, they see you in a way where they can make jokes, not realising that it does get to you. Or sometimes you think that they're going to be the people that support you in a particular way, and they're not the people that support you in the way that you think they're going to do that. And that's fine. They don't need to be those people because they're not paying your bills. But the people that are going to pay your bills, I think those are the people that do need to have that. They do need to understand who you are. But I think when you put certain things online, people do feel like they're getting to know you. And I think when it comes to content creation and building a personal brand, it is so important to not just pigeonhole yourself in one category or one area and say, this is me, this is everything I stand for, in just one bracket, and think that that's going to solve any business, any work that any problems you've got in terms of your work, your business, and what you want to do moving forward, because you don't know what doors are going to be opened because of the things that you share. Like, I shared something last week talking about mental health on Instagram, and Instagram is the place where I don't feel as confident sharing all of me as I like wake up and I look terrible and whatever else. But TikTok is that place where I do feel like that comfort. But I thought, actually, this is a video that I want to share on Instagram as well, because I know that there are people that are also struggling, that might have been people pleasers, that are coming out of fight or flight mode, that are trying to figure life out the way that I'm currently doing it. And it's been one of my best performing videos in ages. Like, the algorithm's doing whatever it's doing, but the interaction, the engagement, just the messages I've had from that, you almost forget. And I think when you are clear on what your values are as a person, what you stand for and who you want to be, the only way I've been able to do that is through creating content and creating more of what I want to do, and then seeing the people that come towards me that then I realise do have shared values, are similar people. So yeah, the advice I gave to this class was, as people that grew up with the internet, as I suppose they're all Gen Zs, use the internet to your benefit. Don't put like silly things out there that you can't ever remove, because once it's out there, it's going to be out there. I'm the only person in the world with my name. If you Google me, everything you need to find about me that I've ever put out there is going to be out there. So my advice was, be careful about what you do put out there, but also be honest about who you are as a person. Try things. You learn from failure, or what you perceive as failure. All the things that I perceived as being failures led me into the next thing I was doing, and ultimately have led me to where I am today. I am working on some very exciting things at the moment that I can't even talk about, but that's because of things that I perceived as being failures. But actually, it was teaching me the skill sets that I needed to be where I am today, and to be able to show the people that are coming to me now and saying, we want to work with you on XYZ. And I've got that experience because of something in the past that I looked at as being a failure. So yeah, ultimately, if you are on this path where you are trying to figure out what you want to do, what you want your career to be, and you want to create content, and maybe you do want content to be a job, I would definitely say just try it, get started. You're not going to know what's going to work and what's not going to work until you get started. I try things all the time on my socials, and I stay consistent because I've stopped telling myself what I can't be doing. When I feel inspired, I create. I look at the things that do work, and obviously you've got to have a strategy. You need to know what you want to get out of it. And I want to get followers. I want to get brand partnerships. I want to get new clients. But the things that I talk about that are very much me are the things that allow the right types of clients to find me based on that content. And there's a lot of stuff that I maybe would have never gone out there and talked about. Things like leading more of an eco life. But that again has led me to working with some amazing brands and to keep developing a life that I'm really proud of, and also showing other people the simple things that they can also be doing to lead like an eco-friendly life, or to make things easier on them, to save a bit of money, to do whatever. So yeah, if you are thinking about starting content creation, whether you want that to be a passion, whether you want it to be a job, whether you just want to learn a new skill set, do it, start, because yeah, you don't know the doors it's going to open for you. And it might not feel like it's doing anything for you now, but you never know when you're in a position like I was, where you're being made redundant again, or things aren't working well in your job, and all of a sudden you've got this thing to fall back on that you'd have never even realised would have been something to fall back on. So yeah, good luck. And if you do need any advice, feel free to get in touch, and yeah, I'll help wherever I can. So we're going to end it with win of the week. Do you know what? My win of the week was just being able to manage work, travel, spending time with family, because I have loved the last couple of weeks. It's made me so tired, but to have my niece asking for me, to have my niece just shouting after me, and us spending time together, going out, just doing little things, has been amazing. To be able to come back home and just chill with G and do nothing has been amazing as well. So my win of the week, yeah, is just following my passions, is following what I want to do more, is asking myself what I want to be doing more of, because I think the more that I ask myself these questions and give myself the chance to realise that I can change my mind whenever I want to, that things don't always have to be the way that I think they have to be, and it's okay for me to change my mind. Like, that has been absolutely huge for me, because like I said, it's opening doors that I didn't even know could be opened. It's opened a career that I didn't know could be opened. So yeah, I will end on that note, and I will say thank you very much again for subscribing, commenting, liking, always listening. This is a passion project, but it's something that I do hope one day does reach more and more people and does turn into something even more special, because I have met some amazing people that I've been able to share with you guys. I've got some amazing stuff coming up in the future. Like I said, I've got stuff that I can't even talk about right now, but to be able to, for me to look back on this and to be able to give people advice on things that I'm still figuring out, like, I'm really blessed, and I thank you for being a part of that journey, because it is amazing for me, and I really do appreciate everything that you guys do. So yeah, keep subscribing, listening, and sending my podcasts to other people to listen to, because yeah, that's how we keep going. So I will see you guys next week.